Sound like anybody else? Sound like anyone else?
But yeah, it's. I don't know.
What do you think, Mark? Oh, did you get a copy of this?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Lindsay sent it out later, so I just.
No, I didn't get the new, I got.
She sent that out.
She emailed that out.
Okay.
This is the signing.
I've seen this.
So they just
Okay, they just,
It wasn't in the package.
okay.
She sent it out earlier.
Did she? I didn't look in my Dropbox.
Yes. Lindsay emailed it out, so that's what it looks like.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of surface area. I'm more concerned about the lighting and.
We're 7 o'clock.
Is that 7 up there? Okay, we'd like to welcome you to our Planning Commission meeting. Chairman Black is excused, as is Vice Chairman Geneva, so they've asked me to conduct the meeting. So we'll begin our meeting by having a Pledge of Allegiance by Greg and a prayer by Darren.
You all rise, remove your hats. Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear kind Father in heaven, we're grateful to be in attendance to this Planning Commission meeting this evening. We're grateful for the community we live in, this community of Far West, and we pray for all the citizens that live here. We are grateful unto thee for our blessings and pray that thou will guide our actions this evening, and this we do in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is to have a report from the City Council for their last meeting.
Hello, Commission. It's good to see you up there, Lou, in that spot. It's been a day. So we met just last week. We don't have a date on these notes, but it was a week ago. So we start off with our opening ceremony of pledge and prayer. We then went immediately into public comments. We did have public comments, and I encourage you to go on to YouTube and watch those comments if you choose to. I'm not going to repeat them or any of that. We then proceeded on, and the mayor made a presentation of the Make a Difference Award, and he awarded John Carden that award for his dedicated service as our treasurer for 26 years. He retired recently, and his son took over, and so he was being recognized for his service. That was quite a deal. We then moved on into other things. There was a business license that we ultimately approved. It was a little bit late in considering they've been doing business, but we allowed them to have their business license so that they can conduct business correctly. We then moved into some public hearings. There was actually 3 public hearings. The first was to consider the telecommunications license tax and energy sales tax ordinance. There was one on adjusting the budget and approving the budget. That was quite lengthy, and I'm not going to repeat all of that. Hopefully you guys will read the actual minutes when they come out. Or again, go out and watch it on the YouTube so you can get it in detail, because I don't do it justice at all. We went into those hearings, we discussed them, and then we moved out of them. We then approved the telecommunications use tax ordinance. We approved the budget adjustments, and we approved the certified tax rate, which is the same as before. Actually, the tax rate actually went down from last year due to all sorts of reasons. And we then approved the final 21-22 budget for this next year. We had a discussion about fraud assessment from our treasurer, and we just a good discussion about that. We then approved the rezoning of the Sonia and Val Fisher property, having to do with the one that you guys recommended. It was a majority vote. There was one guy who voted nay, and I'll give you a clue at who that was. Maybe we can have a discussion. Once again, it's didn't follow the general plan exactly, and maybe I'll have some comments about that. We then canceled the July 1st City Council meeting. We approved the minutes, paid the bills, and did our reports and adjourned. Do you have any questions? It was quite a lengthy meeting, quite a bit in it. It was a very good meeting, actually. A lot of back and forth between citizens, city council, treasurer, good discussions. So one of our better meetings in a good long time. Lots of people, just like tonight, which is awesome. I like it when there's lots of people. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item on our agenda is to open a public hearing to consider the request of a conditional use permit for an accessory building over 2,000 square feet for Ricky Jorgensen located at 2868 West, 3325 North. Do I have a motion?
I motion, yes, we should open the public meeting for the Jorgensen property at 2868 West, 3325 North for a over 2,000 square foot building, accessory building.
Second. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the vote is affirmative. We'll now enter into a public meeting, and I'd like to just explain the purpose of these meetings. One purpose is to inform the public, and the second purpose is to allow the public to make comments and ask questions. So the way I'd like to do this is have Ricky Jorgensen, is he here? Come to the podium and maybe explain what you intend to do. After that has taken place, any member of the public that would like to make comments, you're invited to do so. I would ask that you identify yourself and restrict your comments to 2 minutes.
Yeah, so good evening. I'm Ricky Jorgensen, 2868 West, 3325 North. So what I'm asking for is on the L-shaped lot we have there is to build an accessory building that will store trailers and have some shop area for us to work on some things. Only asking for square footage for the conditional use. We're not asking to go above the 20 foot or the 15 foot eaves. We're sticking below that. So we're strictly asking to have a little bit more space to fill up that little square back there. That's it.
Okay, are there comments from the public? It would probably be useful for us to have a discussion among the planning commission members to maybe review some of the requirements for accessory buildings so that you're aware of what the code allows or does not allow. I'll make a comment on the first one. From what I read, you're in total compliance with. You will probably need to be up there before we're done.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're in total compliance in terms of the size of the building relative to the size of your lot.
Correct, yeah. So the square footage percentage to the backyard.
So for the public to be aware, that is consistent with what the code allows. There are other restrictions placed on these buildings, and perhaps other members of the Planning Commission would like to make comments on that.
Yeah, I've got a comment on this. I looked it up and you've got 0.65 acres.
6.7, yeah.
6.7, I'm sorry, yeah, 6.7. Well, 6.5 is short on the GeoGizmo, but that doesn't matter. And so the maximum height at its peak on your building can only be 20 feet.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that.
Yeah, the peak height is 20 feet, the eve height is 15.
Yeah, exactly. And you answered my question earlier, but I just thought I'd just verify. And
Wonderful.
also, just on this application, you have on the top 2,000 square foot, and then further down, as you're explaining it, you have 3,000 square feet.
It's 3,000 square feet. 2,000, I wouldn't have to be here. So it is 3,000. So if there's a typo,
And the agenda says 2,000, so that's why I want to
Correct.
clarify.
yeah. Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, so I.
Well, that's
I
okay,
can't relate
it's
back to
okay.
that.
Just a comment, normally if the accessory building is less than 2,000, they do not have to come before the Planning Commission for a review. It's only when they exceed 2,000 that we go through this review process. In your application, you've indicated that you will be in total compliance with all of the restrictions as far as slope, height, setback,
Correct.
and everything.
I'm not
else.
asking for any easement. We're going to be off the fence lines, the correct distance. Everything will be in compliance with what code is.
I talked to Chairman Black, and he did say he received one call from a citizen that was concerned over how tall the building would be and felt that it would be intrusive in the neighborhood. I just wanted to share that concern so the people are aware. Our responsibility, the Planning Commission, is to receive input from the public and then make sure whatever's proposed is compliant with our municipal code. That's our mandate. Once again, I'll ask, is there any public comments?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
One of the questions I have is 3,000 square feet is a lot of roof.
Correct.
How are you going to take care of the drainage off that roof and the snow slide off that roof?
Absolutely. We'll take care of it with rain gutters. We'll have plenty of room on both sides of the fence. One side's going to be 15 feet. The other side will be the remaining, and we'll have plenty of room to contain our own water. The whole property is fenced in, and then it has a mow strip. So the water cannot go out of the property unless it goes up above and over that, which could also happen reverse. But yeah, we have adequate everything. So
That's my biggest question is how you're going to take care of the drainage off of that roof and then the snow slide.
Yeah.
I assume it'll be a metal roof.
yes, it will.
Have you checked the plat map for utility easements?
I have. We're in compliance.
Are you,
Yep.
you're outside of sometimes they're 10 feet from, okay.
I got with Nate Carver prior to this to make sure we hit all of the restrictions and the code, all the easements. It's 4 feet, 4 feet, 10 feet, and we're in
Right,
that plus some.
because you can be within 4 feet for the city
We're not on any utility
restrictions, but
easements.
sometimes the utility easements go beyond, and then it's up to you to make sure that they've cleared those if you don't want to deal with them later potentially. So,
We are in none of those.
perfect.
Thank you.
Any other concerns or comments from the commission?
No, I don't.
I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing and proceed with the regular meeting.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we close the meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, all in,
Oh, they still want to comment.
oh, I'm sorry, I asked twice, I never,
No,
was there a comment?
No, I don't know what, I don't.
Lou?
I don't tomorrow point, we
Oh.
are his.
We should ask those in favor and those against, opposed.
Come stand up here. You have to,
I was about to do that.
That's all my concern is that it's probably not gonna, make a
Okay,
difference one way
we'll,
or the other. I'm sure
We'll
this
wait
is
to
all
close
just
the
a
public hearing
formality,
and hear your comment.
things like that. I'm Tamara Hoyt, so right where his shop though is gonna go is right where.
What's your address on the
backyard
map?
Looks into.
What's your address here?
I'm on lot 165. I'm at 3348.
48? Okay,
48, okay.
so your backyard or your backyard face would be abutting this.
Yeah. And that's the only reason why I came is just like, I'm just, upset that I'm gonna lose my view. I mean, his house is already really tall and, you can't see the mountains out that way anymore now that we have this thing, to look at. I do have a raised deck, so I'm sure I'll be able to see a little bit over the top of that, but that was my concern, is just it's taken away my view. And that was the reason we bought that lot. And as we were building it, people that would walk the neighborhood would always stop and say, oh my gosh, you guys are gonna have the best view out of the whole neighborhood. You know, and yeah, you know, my husband and I, he couldn't be here tonight. He had to go to Vegas, but he, you know, we both have said, you know, if we would have realized the shape of that lot behind us in the first place, you know, because obviously that's probably what somebody would do with that space. You know, we probably wouldn't have bought the lot. And that's just all I wanted to say, was I'm just upset, you know, that I'm gonna lose that view, because it's gonna be such a massive structure in the height of it. And I knew, we've known, like, we love Gina and Ricky. We've come to, you know, become friends with them and stuff. And it's nothing against them, you know, because even my husband has said if that was my lot, that's probably what I would do. But it's just, I don't know, it's a little upsetting to know that, you know, the reason you bought that lot, you know, we moved from one lot that faced the mountains like that too. So we were dead set on wanting to be able to face that way, to be able to have the view of the mountains. And, you know, that's my concern. You know, when they moved in, we were told that that was his plan and stuff, but I don't know why, where I even got the idea. In my mind, I thought it was gonna go the other way along the other fence line. And I thought, well, at least I can still, you know, look right there. But now it's going straight across my whole fence line.
Well, I appreciate your concern, and this isn't the first time this concern has been expressed. The reality is,
know,
though,
it's like
you don't own the space
He can
above
say
another
stuff a
person's
lot better
lot.
than me, some things that he has brought up.
One of the reasons, so you understand, one of the reasons for setting a restriction on the height of accessory buildings is to at least limit how high they could be. And that was a change made in the code to accommodate this, and it's just been mentioned. If it's a smaller lot, we require a lower building, a building less tall than if it's a larger lot. And that's in an attempt to try to accommodate the very concern that you've expressed.
Do you want to come up, Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike Corley. I live in 3356.
Okay.
All right, and so I'm kind of catty-cornered, but I'm in the same situation because my neighbor Steven here, he's got the same type of property, right? That L-shaped lot, which is when we bought our lot, we didn't know that the lots were approved with that. And so my wife and I, we're in our 60s, kind of like Lindy back here. We bought that home, you know, that's going to be our last home. We're going to retire. I was the first one out there, right? It was clear sailing all the way back to the mountains. And right, those mountains bring utility to a homeowner, right? I mean, we enjoyed sitting on the backyard, looking at the mountains and those sorts of things. And we're not going to be able to do that anymore, right? Because Ricky's going to build his place, and that's not going to affect me. But I know Steven's is going to want to do the same thing with his lot, right? And so my question to the planning commission is this, right? I don't know when the municipal code was written, right? But this is a thickly settled residential area now. It's not like rural far west. I mean, you go out and you see it's farmland, right? And people have big lots and there's nobody behind them and they have these big buildings and they needed that for their tractors and things like that in order to take care of the farms. Well, again, this is a thickly settled residential area, and we bought that home to retire, and Lindy bought that home to retire. He'll say the same thing, and I'm saying is all that's gone, and so now it's kind of like, well, why the heck am I even going to stay here in Far West? You know, I'm not going to be able to have the same utility, the same pleasure from the home that I used to have. And I understand it's his property. He should be able to build whatever he wants. I got it. My question is that should the municipal code be relooked at for thickly settled residential areas as to what the height is? Maybe the heights could be lessened to like 15 feet, and then that would be less intrusive on the entire neighborhood, right? Versus if you were out in a rural area, a little more rural, where you're back to nothing, I think, then maybe the code stays as it is. Anyway, so that's just all my comments, and I appreciate you guys taking the time and listening. Thank you.
Could I make a comment about the code revision? The code is constantly under revision. Whenever we hear concerns, whether it's obsolescence of the code or something that had not been anticipated when the code was originally written, or circumstances have changed, we, on a regular basis, usually almost every time before this meeting, we have an hour-long work session. And I can tell you that your concern has been heard and we'll reevaluate this ordinance. I'm not promising that we'll do anything.
Sure.
But I understand your concern.
I'd like to invite each of you guys out to come in my backyard, and you can kind of see how the neighborhood's set up, right? And maybe you don't do anything in this particular situation, right? Maybe this is something that can help, folks in another subdivision later on down the line. But I really think, you should, if you want to come out, and you can kind of look and kind of see what we're all talking about. And, cause when we bought those lots, it was like, we were on the back of everybody's lot line, and it's like, phew, right? So everything's going to be wide open, and we got the smallest lots in the subdivision. So when they build these, it's just, it's like, it's right, it's going to be right on our patio, and I understand. I mean, that's the rules.
One of the reasons for the restriction that you have to be under a certain percentage of the total lot size was an attempt to address the very concern that you're expressing. Now, could we reevaluate those numbers? Certainly we could, but it's not like there hasn't been in the past thought given to that.
Sure.
So,
and if you look at the lot, as soon as we realized that those lots were laid out that way, of course, our house was already built. I was the first one back there. I told my wife, I said, they're going to put a shop in. I said, that's exactly what I would do if I bought that land. I would put a shop in right there on that corner. Because when I'm looking out, if I own that, if I'm looking out my back door, I'm not staring at my shop because it's behind that fence, right? And everybody else is staring at it, but I'm not, because I'm staring at my backyard, at my beautiful pool and all that. And that shop is way the heck tucked over there in the corner, So anyway, the offer is open, 3356 North, 2900 West. Feel free to come over and you can kind of see what we're talking about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
before we close the public hearing, are there any other comments from the planning commission? Okay, as I recall, somebody had made a motion to close the public hearing.
I did, and I'll restate that motion.
Okay, please do.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that we close the public meeting for the proposed building at 2868 West, 3325 South on the oversized structure.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, the motion passes. The next item on our agenda is the recommendation to the City Council of action on a conditional use permit for the accessory building over 2,000 square feet for Ricky Jorgensen located at 2868 West, 3325 North. Are there any discussions at this time?
Mr. Chair, this is a situation that happens on a regular basis. I don't mean to be curse or short. I do understand your concern and plight. I'm going to be facing the same thing when they develop the land behind me. The people behind Walquist Junior, people over in the subdivision next to Walquist Junior High have faced the same thing, where they built the bigger houses on the smaller lots next to the half-acre lots that are towering over their backyards now. So I do understand this, and I don't mean to be curse or short with regards to that. But the thing I've always been told, and the thing I always tell people, is if you want a view, you need to secure it by buying the property. Okay? I hate to tell you that, and I understand. I am completely sympathetic with regards to what you're going through, but that's one of the things that I've always been told. If you want to secure your view, the only way you're going to do that is to purchase the property and not let anybody build on it.
That also explains why there's houses continually going up the hill in Pleasant View and North Ogden. That's the very reason they're doing it. The only way you can guarantee that your view will never be obstructed is to put it on a hill so that the tallest of houses can't eclipse what you want to see. Are there any other comments? I'd entertain a motion for the recommendation.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we approve the oversized building at 2868 West, 3325 South, or North, excuse me, and forward it on to the to the city council.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any other further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, the motion passes. You are fully authorized to proceed. You've assured us that this will be an attractive building, and that's at least some consolation, I think, for your neighbors, that if, even though it's bigger than they'd like, at least it will look nice. Yes,
Still has to go to city council.
pardon?
Still has to go to city council.
Yes, and that's, thanks for making that point. We do, we.
In the motion.
It was in the motion, but just for your information, we are a body that makes recommendations to the city council. The final approval is at the city council level. So I don't know when do you think they'll put that on their agenda? Okay, so it will be on, so I'd encourage you to attend the meeting then too. So, okay. Next on our agenda, set a public hearing for July 8th to consider the request of a conditional use permit for a natural gas pressure regulating station for Dominion Energy located at 1300 North, 1200 West. Is there a representative from Dominion Energy? Could you come to the podium and maybe explain a little bit what you're doing?
Hey, good evening. My name is Zach Hansen. I'm the engineer on the project for Dominion Energy. And to give a brief overview, we currently have a station that feeds this area on 1200 West. It's a little closer to Harrisville Road. And that current site has some issues regarding integrity because it's an older model of our station. And also with the piping that was done there, it doesn't correctly address concerns with frost heave. As you drop pressure, the pipe can heave in the ground because the gas is cold, and we want to correct those issues. And so we're wanting to relocate our station down further south on 1200 West, and it'll be similar to what's out there, but just modernized to our current standards and addressing these issues so that we don't have those concerns and can continue to reliably supply gas to Farr West City.
Thank you. The purpose of our agenda today is to set a public hearing, but there may be some comments or questions that the members of the Planning Commission would like to ask you at this time.
What will happen with the current station once the new one is constructed?
So we need to pursue or determine what we will do. We are going to remove all of our infrastructure, so that will be taken down and removed. But with the way that that's situated, we attempted to expand at that current site so that we wouldn't have to have that issue, but the civil work and the limited space there made that not feasible. So we'll need to pursue what we do with that land, whether we retain it or what have you, but we will remove all of our infrastructure there.
I went over and looked at that today, and there's quite a drop off behind that building. I noticed
Correct.
that, so that makes perfect sense.
Could I assume that all of your pipes and so forth will still run through that building, so there'll still be a utility easement there, or when you're done, are you going to bypass your old site completely?
We'll bypass our old site completely. We're gonna remove.
Okay, completely abandoned, okay.
We'll remove the pipe out of the ground there, and the manhole covers that are currently in the road at that section, those will also be removed. It'll just be pipe under the road.
We're familiar with the new site because we recently rezoned it, or at least we recommended rezoning and the city council approved it. There is an easement issue on that property on the west side. How does your footprint for your facility juxtapose to that easement?
So I assume it's the easement that runs parallel with that fence.
The old
line that you're
railroad
referring
line,
to.
yeah.
Yep.
Lindsay gave you guys, I'm Kevin Mulvey. I'm the property agent on this, working for Dominion
Okay.
Energy. I don't know if she passed along the drawing images that kind of show that, but you're talking about to the property owners on the.
Well, it would be to the west of your property, and it runs, right.
Not the roadside, the other side.
Right, correct, against the property line fence. I can't remember how wide
Our
it is.
current plan, and I don't know if these images were forwarded on to y'all or not, but we can make sure to provide those. But because of the issues with that easement, we're planning on keeping our fence line outside. We're gonna be 30 feet off of the fence line. And that is to avoid any issues that may be caused there. In addition to avoiding a petroleum pipeline that runs through that same area.
Well, as I said, we're just setting the public hearing, but of course you will be attending, and it will be very useful for the neighbors and the citizens to hear the very explanation you've given us and provide clarity on what you intend on doing and how it will be positioned relative to their properties and so forth. So that having been said, I would entertain a motion to set a public hearing.
I move to set a public hearing for July 8th to consider the request of a conditional use permit for a natural gas pressure regulating station for Dominion Energy located at 1300 North and 1200 West.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second and a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor of the setting a public hearing? And it would be a date. Our first meeting would be what? July 8th. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, vote has it. So plan on attending that meeting. You'll watch what happened in a public hearing today. You'll be explaining what you're going to do, and then you'll respond to questions that the public may have.
Will you need any more information from us prior to that? I mean, like I said, we did send drawings. Are you Lindsay?
As long as Lindsay has the footprint
You have to lay out the
and so
footprint.
they can visually see what you're doing, and then you'll provide any kind of narrative that may go along with it.
Let me know if you need anything more than that.
Okay?
Thanks for your
Hey,
time.
yes,
bet.
thank you. Have a good evening.
Next item is to cancel the July 22nd Planning Commission.
Skip one.
Oh, excuse me. I checked it off before it happened. Thank you, people. Approval of the new sign for Smith and Edwards located at 3936 North, 2000 West. We have a representative from Smith and Edwards. Okay, why don't you explain to us what you're going to be doing?
Yeah, my name's Matt Jones. I'm the contractor on the project. They're just upgrading their storefront there and adding a gabled sign above their entryway at the front there, and they're matching their theme in their Salt Lake store.
Okay, Commission, you've had a chance to look at the design. Is there any concerns over what you see?
No, the sign is within requirement. Is there any, what about lighting on the sign?
I think the sign is lit from behind.
It will be on constantly or, okay.
I'm sure it'll be on a light sensor, but yeah.
I'm assuming it's set back far enough from the road, and the road, it shouldn't create any kind of traffic issue or distraction for people driving by, I'm assuming, so.
No, in fact, it's only popping out 3 feet from that back wall. It won't even pop out past the front of the
Okay.
store, so.
Any other comments from the Planning Commission? I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we send recommend approval to the city council for the new sign at the Smith and Edwards.
And I don't believe this has to be forwarded to the city council. I'm like, it does? Okay. Well, then it should have been recommended for approval rather than approval, I guess, on the agenda.
That's what I said.
Okay.
I said it right.
You said it right. I read it as it's written.
No, I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for correcting that.
Not a problem.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, we will make that recommendation to the city council.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, cancel the July 22nd Planning Commission meeting.
Is that just because of 24th
I'm
weekend?
assuming it's close to the holiday.
Generally how it works.
Are there concerns over doing that from any of the Planning Commission members?
Is there anything urgent that we would be missing?
We will have had a meeting prior to that and a work session prior to that. So Ted did not inform me of anything that would suggest that there's an urgency to hold that meeting, so.
In that case, I move that we cancel the July 22nd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, the meeting will be canceled. Next item, recommendation to the city council on changes to the city ordinance to comply with HB 82 and HB 409 from the 2021 Utah legislative session.
Chair,
Yes.
I would like to recommend that we table this based off of the changes that came in from the attorney right before the meeting. And readdress it at our next work session,
Yeah, right.
if everyone agrees with that.
Ryan sent things just right before the meeting.
Yeah, and I never even had a chance to read
Send
them.
an
so-
email out? Oh, I didn't see that either.
I thought we had our attorney trained to give it to us a little bit earlier than a few hours before the meeting. So it's been moved that we table this item because it still needs further review, and I could agree with that. Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been recommended and seconded. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, that will be tabled. I was not present on the meeting where you discussed this, so I welcome the opportunity to actually understand what happened. Okay, the next item, consideration of a recommendation to the city council on the Hart subdivision phase 4. We'll delete that from our agenda and not take any action tonight. Okay. Next item is a consent approval of the minutes dated May 27th and also June 10th. Are there any corrections that people know of that need to be made to those minutes? I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes dated May 27th, 2021 and June 10th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, the minutes are approved. Now it's time to report on assignments. I'll just go down the dais. Lyle, would you like to start?
Yeah, we had a park meeting this last Wednesday, and they're building, for those of you who don't know, they're building two pickleball courts at the Mountain View Park. And there's room there for two more, but right now they poured the concrete on Monday, and it has to sit for a month to cure. They got the fencing there, so they're gonna be working on the perimeter and pouring sidewalk and everything like that. And then also, just by way of information, as part of the Freedom Festival, the city's doing a fishing derby for next Saturday, or on July 3rd. And they'll be planting fish next week, and we're tagging 100 fish of different colors, and there's different prizes associated with it. So we're just kind of working on that end of it too. That's something Lou and I are working on with the other people in the committee. So that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Brandon?
I don't have anything.
Darren?
I have nothing tonight.
Steve?
No, fiber conduit is finishing in Southern Mia and Mountain View. After that's done, it should be just here and there as different appendages of the city decide that they want fiber. Other than that, it's progressing, and since we're all gonna lose our grass to the drought anyway, I figure it's a good year to lay fiber, so.
It does look kind of silly to put that sod back in place in this drought. But all that I've seen, they're doing an excellent job trying to restore what it was before they did their work, so.
It's a big project, and they're doing the best they can, so.
Greg?
I don't really have any assignments, but I would like to talk to the park people. The Smith Family Park looks fantastic. I would like to see some of that spread out to some of our other parks with regards to new equipment, upgrading to the slides, upgrading to the swing sets. I have a new granddaughter, and I'm prejudiced. I'll admit that, but I don't have a swing set that I can take her to that has a baby swing in it. So I would love to get that at one of the other parks.
Well, I do know that they're evaluating those right now. Mick is working on that. They're evaluating what upgrades and what changes and improvements we can do on the other parks.
That's
That's
fantastic.
in the works right now.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear that, Lyle. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
And that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next item, are there any additional public comments other than items that were on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, again, Mike Corley, I'm not sure if you're the right people to talk to, but since I was here, I figured I'd, say my concern and then you could point me in the right direction then. Our neighborhood, out there, Charles Green subdivision, when they built the road in next to Sand Ridge Elementary School, is that the name of it, Sand Ridge? Oh, okay. But anyway, the traffic that flies by our house now is, it's just, I mean, there's just so much of it. I mean, I can't even back out of my driveway without my car beeping at me, and it's every single time. And people are flying around the corners and going around. And I don't know if anybody, first off, if there's anything that can be done about the amount of traffic that's going through there. If a study could be done, or if there's anything in the plans. We had heard that at one time that the road that runs north and south in front of the school was going to extend all the way to Plain City Road. And I don't know if that's still in the plans or not. Is it something that would be considered? I don't know, but we have a lot of traffic. We have a lot, there's a lot of kids. You know, he lives in the neighborhood, right? And he'll tell you the cars are just flying by. Poor Lindy, he said someone almost ran into his back end because he goes around the corner and his driveway's right there. It's just, there's just so much traffic. And when the school's in session, it's even worse. But all the people from Remuda, the old Remuda subdivision, they now cut through to get over to Plain City Road, right? And so I don't know if anybody has looked at that or done any type of a study to look at the traffic.
So it's happening even during, so not just school, when school's in session, it's all the time.
It's all the time because they're cutting through to get to Plain City Road instead of going all the way out and around.
Well, before Bermuda only had 2 entrances and exits, so that adds an additional way to get into the road.
The speed that they're going through.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're working on and working towards are trying to get additional bridges across the canal. That's one of the things that we're proposing to the council. It's going to take some time, but that is in the works. Okay, so we are proposing to get that done. We're proposing one at about 22-25, I think. And the other one is out there off of the Hart subdivision out in that area. So we are proposing those things, and we're trying to work with the DNR to get access across the canal. We're working with the developers to help us take care of that and at least get the roads up to the grade that we need to get across there. We have quite a few stubs, as you're aware, probably from driving around the neighborhoods, that go into the canal and are 6 or 8 feet too low.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that we're working on and one of the things that I've been challenged with to do as we're going through this. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Okay, and those bridges, they would connect over to what, the road that's in by
Over to
Edwards,
1200.
1900 or whatever?
1900.
Okay.
Well, 2000 west.
And so are there any plans about extending that road over to Plain City Road, the one that runs in front of the school?
Is that Plain City or is that?
I think that road dead ends at Plain city boundaries, so
Yeah,
I don't know
think
that,
it's our city boundary.
that doesn't, that dead ends up in.
It dead ends, yeah.
To Plain City, so we don't have any say in
Oh,
that.
okay. Oh, okay, I got you. I understand, okay. All right. All right, great. Thank you very much.
Just a couple comments. When it comes to traffic problems, generally, you're probably better off expressing that concern to the city council. Maybe Ken, a resident and a member of the city council, might like to respond to what you've just said.
Yeah,
Come to the podium, please.
Identify yourself.
Sure, what you want me to do that?
So Ken, I have some traffic complaints too, so if you're gonna stand there.
Trust me, there are plenty of traffic problems to go around. I understand exactly what you're saying, because I live on that street that goes into Remuda itself with the islands. And so I'll match my speeds against yours any day. You know, it's a problem. We're not exactly sure what the solution is, because what do you do to slow people down? I'm curious, you guys are actually on a very short street.
It's very, yeah,
They have to really.
I actually had somebody, so, you know, I've taken a truck, and so I kind of went a little bit over to the left in order to drive straight in, because I've got my park truck
Yeah.
is smaller, not the big thing.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to come to make a quick, 90-degree turn. And somebody passed me on the right side. Right? And I didn't even, when I actually turned into the subdivision, there was nobody behind me. I made the turn at his corner, there was nobody behind me. And then by the time I got to where I would return to my driveway, they were passing me on the road.
I know that for a fact. So there's been other residents that have asked for traffic studies and all that. And the Weber County Sheriff's Office are actually very good about at least replying to it. In fact, I actually got a call from the sheriff himself going, you know, we're going to put one of those little signs up to measure and, you know, do those kinds of studies. So there was many of us would like to have speed bumps, but we've also found the problem with speed bumps are when it does snow, snow plows tend to take them out, or they take out snow plows. And yes, they will slow down residents or drivers while they go over the bump, but they speed up in between the bumps. And what we don't want to slow down, and this is what finally got me, you will also slow down emergency responders. So.
Maybe you can put a
It's one of
note,
those things, we can study it. The best thing to do is to just ask your neighbors to slow down.
maybe you can put a no passing sign there or something to solve your problem. I'm just kidding.
But it's, we could go to any street in Far West and get the exact same.
Paint an outline of my grandson in the road.
Yeah, there you go. For the public comments, we probably ought to keep them so that they're recorded and Lindsay can, because she's taking notes. We can take these conversations off. We can definitely continue the
This is
conversation.
more traffic related again, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big issue there is all of these young children, unlicensed, they're underage to be licensed, are zipping around on not street legal
Yes.
motorcycles and also driving
Side by side,
UTVs
go-karts.
and things like that through there. I mean, there's one that's gotta be under 8 years old. Zips around, stares at me as he goes by, as he's coming to this corner, as his car's coming around. There are numerous children out there
Yeah. Well,
on these on these.
sometimes we do
not
have to
street
just
legal
call the
vehicles, and
sheriff's department.
I'm scared that one of my kids backing out is gonna hit them.
It happens,
Someone is gonna hit 'em.
it happens on my street too. I see it all the time.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to call not the 911, but the other sheriff's.
Sheriff's.
Non-emergency.
Non-emergency, Weber County.
It's horrible.
But
They'll come, they picked up my daughter 20 years ago on our dead-end street, that is no longer dead-end street, right?
Exactly.
Yes. We actually sold our home and moved to the end of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, you did. Because you were on that,
Where Maya lives by a stop sign that is invisible.
yep, and people pick up speed going around that corner, pulling into Far West Farm, so,
45 miles an hour.
yeah. uh-huh.
We hear your concerns and we try to address them, but understand sometimes the solution is as easy as you might think. Okay?
Mr. Chair? Oh, sorry.
Comment on this subject, actually. I'm Mark Lind. I live at 2897 West, 3325 North, the outside corner. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what corner we're talking about. Part of the danger to kids around there is the fence line on the opposite corner of mine. I'm not sure he's in compliance or not, but it's a 6-foot fence that runs all the way to the sidewalk. His house faces west, and I know he's in compliance one way because it doesn't extend out to the front of his house. But the problem with that is it's kind of a blind curve, and people get in a hurry and cut the corner when they're traveling south to make the left-hand corner to go east on there. It just kind of dangerous. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. There is going to be an accident there at some point because people coming south to head east down that corner, you have to turn left. They're cutting the corner so sharp and they're unable to see, cars coming west on that road because of that fence line. It's not necessarily the fence's fault, but the people, cutting the corner to turn left there are getting in the habit of doing that. During icy conditions, I know I drive a wrecker part-time, and I've just been waiting for several times for people to, somebody to cut that corner and somebody's gonna broadside them coming around the other side.
Many of these fences were constructed before we put in a clear view zone portion to our ordinance. If you study the ordinance, now, I can't remember what the setback is.
20 feet.
40 feet.
But we have now for these blind corners, we have a clear view zone where they cannot erect a fence that will impede the ability of people to see in that clear view zone, motivated by the very concern that you've expressed.
I'm not trying to get him to tear down his fence, but it was a kind of a bad idea to do it, I think, right there, but he's kind of limited because it's a corner lot. And another question I have for you guys is, what is there an ordinance or anything on a privately funded sign to address the danger of that?
Well, yes, there are ordinances for residential signs in place.
And usually they're more restrictive than anything.
They're restricted to times of political election, and I'd have to actually look it up. It would take me a second, but there is a whole section in the code about residential signage. And last I read it, I don't think it would allow for what you're asking. I'd have to look it up, to be honest, but it is in the code.
Correct. I would recommend you contact Public Works because they're the ones who are gonna put in the sign anyway. If it's privately funded, you would have to get approval from the city council to do so because we're talking about transportation of the public in a public right of way. So,
The city council routinely hears concerns and they are sort of constantly addressing these safety issues and concerns. Obviously, they can't do everything simultaneously, but when we identify an area that's particularly problematic, then they will consider lots of options. Speed bumps aren't normally the one that we would consider, but signage and other ways to try to curb the risk, they do that. So.
If I can make one last comment on that, because it not only applies to the street corners, but also driveways, right? We have corner lots that will put fences all the way up against a third car driveway of the neighboring house. And you have the same problem where anyone pulling out of that driveway can't see past the fence corner. So, I mean, I really think we need to, as we're going through and revising things, I think we need to have a long, hard look at that because so far it hasn't come back to bite anybody, but one day it might. And I don't want to be in a situation where we didn't give that a long, hard look, even if it means having, some kind of code enforcement and having people who built those fences after the ordinance was in place correct the problem. So.
As I said before, and I'll reiterate it, no ordinance is cast in cement. When we hear your concerns, we reevaluate the ordinance. We can't say that we satisfy everybody, but we listen to what you have to say and we consider a possibility for an ordinance change that might improve things. Okay?
I have a quick thought, real quick. Since Silver Ridge is the elementary school that's there, I was wondering if they could try and see if they could get a crosswalk for that area and maybe that would slow down the traffic. I don't know who they bring it to or just a thought because that's a new school that's built. I noticed Walquist has.
They installed like 10 new crosswalks.
Did they?
This week leading up to it, so.
And I will say that crosswalks are no impediment to speeding traffic. Yeah.
In fact, sometimes they're increase the danger because the
People are actually on the
pedestrians
road and
have
they think they're
confidence
safe,
and the
yeah.
driver doesn't obey the crosswalk. So you've always, it's
False sense of security.
yes, that's true. Well, appreciate your comments. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I recommend we make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.